Hey guys, welcome to another Jamaican video, a Jamaican living in Germany. Now in the culture shock videos about India, I told you guys that there would definitely be like a second or even a third culture shock video about India because I experienced so many culture shocks there and just one video would never be enough. And so, as I promised, here's another video about some culture shocks that I experienced on my trip to India. Question that I got asked most of the times were like just random people would be looking at me and they're like, hey, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Jamaica. And then of course the uncertainty on so many of their faces was like, Jamaica? It's like, where is that? Is that somewhere in Africa? I get it all the time, it's fine. And I was like, no, it's actually in the Caribbean. They're like, the Caribbean? And then so I had to actually use West Indies and cricket as the way for many of them to actually figure out, okay, where Jamaica is. Oh, cricket, and you're like, DJ Bravo and Brian Lara and so on. It's like, yep, Jamaica in the Caribbean. It was interesting though that people knew about the West Indies and they knew where the West Indies was, but somehow they didn't make the connection that, hey, Jamaica is in the West Indies. Standing in India. In the first video I mentioned that I got sick on my way to India. And I was just lying there for a couple of days and then I decided that I wanted to go to the doctor. I've traveled to so many different countries before and I have so many different experiences going to doctors overseas. In my mind I was like, okay, going to the doctor there, I'm going to be spending a lot of money. When I went to the doctor, it was a complete opposite. The amount of money that I paid for the doctor's visit and the medication was just like about less than 10 or 20 euros. I don't remember the exact amount. I was just like so surprised, like I went to the doctor and I got all these medications and I paid so little for it. One cannot visit India or do a culture shock video about India and not talk about food. Really good food, food that looks great, food that smells great, food that tastes great. I don't know, that's the first thing I associate with India. And I wasn't disappointed one bit. No, I'm not a vegetarian, but I really love vegetarian food. So I felt like I was in paradise, like going to these restaurants and not having to worry or having to ask, okay, what type of meat is in this thing? Okay. Yeah. It wasn't so spicy. Germany, the food here, sometimes it's either they don't use a lot of spices, and of course it's not very spicy. And then going to India is a complete opposite of it. I was like, yeah, this reminded me so much of Jamaica because of course we use a lot of spices in our food and sometimes it's like really spicy hot. And so being there and experiencing that, I was like, this is the way that food is supposed to taste. Mwah, that was awesome. In Germany, when I see spicy on a menu or on different packages, then I usually just laugh because I know, yeah, this is not spicy. I got a first-hand glimpse of just how much Indians love their spices and how important it is when you're cooking there. What was even surprising for me was like going to the market and just seeing the variety, the different colors, the different textures of spices that were there. And I went to the market and there was just this long stretch of people selling chili. And I mean, I was walking there and it's like, I found it so hard to breathe because it was like so strong. And in my mind, I'm like, these people are sitting like right in front of this pile of seasonings and they're just breathing normally. And I was like dying, I'm like, wow. Just walking on most of the streets, you see people selling different types of foods. And in comparison to Jamaica, of course we have street food there, but they're usually like small finger food items and not like what I saw in India where it's like pretty much it's like an entire meal or like just how many different things you can get at like different places and stuff. It was just mind-blowing for me. And of course with this German mentality in my head, I was like, yeah, this would not happen in Germany where you can just get up and say, you know what, I'm gonna sell food on the streets. I mean, in Germany you need like a million permits just to be able to do that. So the chefs are in the kitchen making chapati. He says only the professionals know to make it. I was really happy that I could stay with a couch surfer because it was a really great way to kind of see and to experience how locals live. One of the most memorable nights was when they actually cooked. This was after I got better and they decided, okay, we're gonna cook some food and stuff. And I was just amazed just watching how they were preparing everything. And then of course eating with hands was also what we did. And I don't know, somehow I found that to be, I enjoyed the food more by eating with my hands. When I went to the restaurants and stuff, it was always with knives and forks, but there it was just always eating with hands. And I don't know, somehow the food tasted much better. One of the number one culture shocks I experienced in India was the situation with the cows. It's normal in India where cows are just walking about, they can do whatever they want, nobody's gonna trouble them. And this for me was super surprising. In Jamaica we have this situation, but most times it's like, for example, dogs or goats and so on in the city centers. And growing up in rural Jamaica, I was always afraid of cows. Because growing up, my parents and my grandparents would tell me like, hey, you should always avoid cows, you should get out of their way because, you know, they can run at you. And anytime you're passing a cow with red stuff, then you need to really be careful because, you know, they will attack you. There was a little fear of cows inside, and just being there, and I mean, come on, a cow is not a small animal. It's not like a dog walking about on the street. It's a cow. It's a cow. And just walking about and seeing the cows walking through these different streets and they're just doing whatever they want, I was like, this is awesome. As the foreigner, it's surprising for me, but for the people that live there, it's just a normal day in India. And I just found that to be so cool. I mean, come on, the size of a cow. Living in Germany, coming from Jamaica, I mean, monkeys are exotic animals. I mean, just seeing a monkey running through a park, it's just something that was really surprising for me because, I mean, the only places that I've seen monkeys would have been like in the zoo. It's apparently open 24 hours. They offer like food, and if you want, you can also sleep here, like for people that don't have a place to stay. Another culture shock that I experienced was when I visited some of the temples that were there. What I found so interesting about these temples is that they weren't just a place of worship. They had more or less this community impact. They were, for example, serving food, and you had maybe at least, I don't know, 100 to 200 people in this entire place seated, and they would just walk through and they would serve the food and stuff. And I was like, wow, that was so amazing that, you know, they were actually catering to the needs of the people in the community. And I don't know, it made me feel, it gave me this really soft feeling in my heart to see that, okay, the people there, they can come to their place of worship, not just to worship, but also, you know, to get a good meal. And the food there, I mean, this was also just like a couple hours after I really started feeling better, but the food there was actually pretty, I mean, it's Indian food, is always good, at least. I think I'm biased about Indian food. Yeah, so today is like Krishna's birthday, so that's like a traditional thing that they do, which is symbolic of when Krishna was a child and then he would drink milk from the pot. So it's like, it was really cool how they just worked together to actually do that. It was just really interesting to see the celebrations that were happening and how the city was just alive because of it. And then also going to one of the temple and stuff, and I mean, I was kind of overwhelmed because there were like, I don't know, 200, 300 people packed into this place, and they were all just chanting and stuff, and I was like, whoa, this is, that was just different. Those are some really unique experiences that I had in India. You can turn. I was like traveling with these two other guys that I met. We were talking with this tuk-tuk driver, and one of the guys asked him, hey, can we drive like through the city and stuff? And this guy was like, okay. Controlling that thing was one challenge. Navigating the streets was another challenge. The traffic on the road was another challenge. So it was like really overwhelming. I mean, at the end of it, I think I was just all sweaty because I was like, whoa, that was a thrilling experience. I'm pretty sure that people that have visited India can relate very well to some of these culture shocks. And I guess even for the people that live there, I would kind of love to know the background behind some of these things. Like, let's continue the conversation down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the culture shocks. Let me know what your experiences are. Let me know the background behind some of these things that you guys do there. I would love to know. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and you can definitely look out for another one or maybe even 2 culture shock videos about India.